In a quiet Illinois barn, a 70-year-old Farmall sits dusty but ready. Turn the key, and that old engine fires up like it did during World War II. Across America, farmers are rejecting million-dollar smart tractors and quietly returning to old red iron that just refuses to die. International Harvester built machines so tough, so simple, so legendary that farmers today still trust them with the harvest. Today, we're counting down 10 old International Harvester machines farmers still trust. Number 10. The Farmall Cub. We're starting with the smallest, cutest, and arguably most successful little tractor International Harvester ever built, the Farmall Cub. Production began in 1947 at the Louisville, Kentucky plant and continued all the way until 1981. That's 34 straight years of production. Over 245,000 Cubs were manufactured during that run, making it arguably the most popular small tractor in history. The Cub was originally designed during World War II and was specifically created to replace horses and mules on small farms across America's Deep South. The Cub had this distinctive offset design where the engine sat to the left while the driver's seat and steering wheel were on the right. International Harvester called this Cultivision because it gave the operator a clear view of the row crops directly in front of them. Powered by a tiny 4-cylinder engine, producing only about 9.3 horsepower. The Cub was small enough to be affordable, but capable enough to do real farm work. There were two main variations, the Standard Cub and the Lowboy Cub. In 1960, International Harvester actually changed the standard color from the iconic IH red to Federal yellow because so many of these tractors were being sold for industrial use. International Harvester also built Cubs in Saint-Dizier, France, starting in 1955, affectionately called the French Cub. Today, farmers still trust the Cub for small acreage work, mowing, gardening, and orchard tasks. They're simple, easy to fix, and parts are everywhere. A working Cub today is one of the best entry-level vintage tractors you can buy. Number 9. The Farmall A and Super A. Number 9 is the slightly bigger cousin of the Cub, the Farmall A and Super A. Introduced in 1939, the Farmall A was a small one-plow row crop tractor that became wildly popular for small farms with 1 to 2 cultivated fields. Like the Cub, the Farmall A featured the famous offset engine design that International Harvester branded Cultivision. This let farmers see exactly where they were going while cultivating row crops, which was a huge improvement over traditional tractors. The original Farmall A used an International Harvester C113 4-cylinder inline overhead valve engine displacing 113 cubic inches. Here's why this tractor was so successful. Over its 8-year original production run from 1939 to 1947, approximately 117,522 Farmall A tractors were built. When you combine the A with the closely related Farmall B, total production reached around 210,000 units. They sold for between $575 in their day, making them affordable for almost any family farm. In 1947, International Harvester introduced the Super A, which kept the same engine displacement but added a hydraulic lift system. About 94,000 Super A tractors were produced. The Super A later evolved into the Farmall 100, then the 130, and finally the 140, which stayed in production all the way until That's 34 years of essentially the same proven design. Farmers today still use the Farmall A and Super A for orchard work, vineyard work, and small acreage cultivation. The simplicity is why these tractors keep running. Number 8. The Farmall H. At number 8 is the absolute legend, the Farmall H. From 1939 through 1953, International Harvester built 391,277 Farmall H tractors at their Rock Island, Illinois plant. According to Case IH, when you include the Super H and related variants, over 420,000 Farmall H and Super H tractors were sold between 1939 and 1954. That makes the Farmall H the #1 best-selling row crop tractor of all time. The H was styled by the legendary industrial designer Raymond Loewy, the same man who designed the first Air Force One livery and the iconic International Harvester Man on Tractor logo. He also did design work for NASA. The Farmall H came with International Harvester's C152 4-cylinder inline overhead valve engine, displacing 152 cubic inches and a 6-volt electrical system. The H was a medium-sized 2-plow row crop tractor rated at 19 horsepower at the drawbar, but it actually delivered 24 horsepower in Nebraska tractor tests. It was marketed to farmers with 100 acres or more of tilled land. The list price for an H in 1953 was $2. Farmers still trust the H today for several reasons. The modular design lets entire assemblies be removed and replaced as units, making repairs straightforward. There were variants for everything: the Highboy HV for high crops with 30.25 inches of clearance, the W4 with standard tread, the I4 for industrial use, and the O4 for orchard use. You can still find Farmall H tractors working small farms across America today, and there's an entire industry dedicated to keeping them alive. Number 7. The Farmall M. If the H was the most popular row crop tractor of all time, the Farmall M was its bigger, more powerful brother. Number 7 is the Farmall M, also styled by Raymond Loewy and produced from 1939 to 1953. Over the 13-year run, 270,140 Farmall M tractors were produced. The Reese was rated for 3 14-inch moldboard plows, commonly called a 3-bottom plow. It was equipped with an International Harvester C248 inline overhead valve, 4-cylinder engine, displacing 248 cubic inches. In Nebraska tests, the M delivered 33 horsepower at the drawbar and over 33 horsepower at both the belt and the PTO. But here's where the M got really interesting. Beginning in 1941, International Harvester introduced the Farmall MD, a diesel version that would start on gasoline until warmed up sufficiently to switch to diesel. A total of 18,253 MD tractors were produced. Then from 1952 to 1954, IH produced the Farmall Super M with a larger 264 cubic inch engine, plus the Super MD diesel and the famous Super MTA. The Super MTA is historically significant because it featured the industry-first torque amplifier transmission, allowing operators to shift between 2 gears on the go or under load without using the clutch. Total production was 44,551 Super MT tractors and 26,924 Super MTA tractors. By the way, the Super MTA got its name from the popularity of the animated Superman series in the 1940s. Today, farmers across the Midwest still trust the Farmall M for chores, tillage, and parade duty. Number 6. The International Harvester MD. Number 6 is the tractor that brought diesel power into mainstream American farming. The International Harvester MD Diesel, introduced in This was a pivotal moment in agricultural history because before the MD, diesel tractors were rare, finicky, and viewed with suspicion by most American farmers. The MD used a 4-cylinder International Harvester engine displacing 247.7 cubic inches with an unusually high 16.5:1 compression ratio. It produced 36.56 belt horsepower and 33.04 drawbar horsepower at 1,040/51 RPM. The tractor weighed about 5,300 pounds unballasted and could hit a top speed of 16 miles per hour. What made the MD so unique was its starting system. The diesel would start on gasoline first, with the operator switching over to diesel fuel once the engine was warmed up. This was clever engineering because cold starting a diesel engine in the 1940s was extremely difficult. By starting on gasoline, farmers could use diesel reliably even in cold weather. Farmers initially resisted the MD because it was unfamiliar and more expensive than gasoline tractors. But over time, they discovered that diesel offered better fuel economy, more torque, and longer engine life. The MD essentially convinced American farmers that diesel was the future of farming. Without the MD, the modern diesel tractor industry might look very different. Surviving MDs are still trusted workhorses on hobby farms today, and collectors prize them for their historical significance. Number 5. The Farmall 560. Number 5 comes with a fascinating story of both engineering ambition and embarrassing failure. The Farmall 560, produced from 1958 to 1963. The 560 was a 5-plow row crop tractor designed to be the modern successor to the Farmall M, and about 70,000 were produced. The 5060 featured a brand new 6-cylinder 263 cubic inch engine producing 66 horsepower in gasoline form. It abandoned the iconic Raymond Loewy styling of the letter series in favor of a squared-off look that would define the Farmall line until the very end. The diesel version was a direct start engine with glow plugs, replacing the older start-on-gasoline diesel system. But here's the famous problem. International Harvester combined the bigger, more powerful new engine with the essentially unaltered powertrain components from the older Farmall M. The transmission, final drives, and rear end simply weren't strong enough to handle the increased power, and the 560 quickly developed a reputation for serious reliability problems. This created a massive public relations disaster for International Harvester. They had to issue a huge recall, replacing powertrain components on thousands of tractors. The 560 final drive fiasco of the late 1950s and early 1960s genuinely hurt International Harvester's market position and reputation. However, after the recall and updates, the rebuilt 560s became reliable workhorses. Farmers today still trust properly updated 560s for general work, and they remain extremely popular at vintage tractor shows. The 560 is a reminder that even great engineering companies can stumble. Number 4. The Farmall 806. At number 4 is the tractor that pulled International Harvester out of the 560 disaster. The Farmall 806 produced from 1963 to 1967. About 35,000 Farmall 806 were built, and they represented IH's serious return to engineering excellence. The 806 was the bigger brother of the simultaneously released Farmall 706. It was a powerhouse of its class, available with a 361 cubic inch gasoline engine, a 361 cubic inch LP gas engine, or a D361 diesel producing 110 horsepower. The transmission was a 2-range unit with low and high ranges for a total of 8 gears forward and 2 in reverse, with an optional torque amplifier that effectively doubled that to 16 forward gears. 2 power takeoff shafts were provided, turning at 540 and 1000 RPM. Both narrow and wide front axles were offered. International Harvester also introduced factory cab installations as an option in The 806 ranged in price from about $7,100 for gasoline engines to about $7,900 for diesel engines. The 806 was so successful that it became a benchmark for the entire industry. Farmers loved it for its bulletproof reliability, smooth power delivery, and ability to handle big implements. The Farmall 8056 was introduced in 1967 as essentially a rebadged 806, continuing the legacy. Today, the 806 is one of the most respected vintage tractors among American farmers. Restored 806s sell for $20,000 at auction, and farmers still trust them for real fieldwork. This was IH's redemption tractor, and it absolutely delivered. Number 3. The Farmall 1206 Turbo. Number 3 is a tractor that broke records and redefined what was possible. The Farmall 1206 Turbo. This was International Harvester's first turbocharged tractor, and it was the first row crop tractor in history to exceed 100 horsepower. That was an absolute revolution in 1965. The 1206 used the 806's proven 361 cubic inch engine, but with a turbocharger added. The DT361 produced 110 horsepower, and at the September 1965 Nebraska tractor test, it hit a 112.64 PTO horsepower and 99.16 drawbar horsepower. Total production was approximately 8,000 Farmall 1206 row crop versions, plus roughly 1,600 International 1206 wide front versions, sold for about $9,600 per car. Here's a wild fact. The 1206 was actually so powerful that early models damaged tires. The available tractor tires of that era simply weren't designed to handle that much torque. Goodyear and Firestone had to develop special heavy-duty tires just to handle the 1206's pulling power. The 1206 had several distinctive features. It had a welded tubular steel grille initially. Dual rear wheels were standard, and it came with a gold-trimmed turbo decal inscripted lettering on each side of the hood. The 1206 was rebadged as the 1256 in 1967 with a larger 407 cubic inch turbo diesel producing 125 horsepower. The 1206 set the standard for high horsepower row crop tractors that every other manufacturer scrambled to match. Farmers still trust the 1206 today for serious heavy field work, and they remain absolute legends at any vintage farm show. Number 2. The International Harvester Farmall 1066 Turbo. At number 2 is one of the most beloved international harvester tractors ever built. The Farmall 1066 Turbo, produced from 1971 to 1976. The 1066 was equipped with the legendary DT414 direct start turbocharged diesel engine. The DT414 was a 6-cylinder 414 cubic inch engine producing 105 to 108 horsepower at the drawbar and approximately 125 horsepower at the PTO. The tractor weighed just over 11,000 pounds and was built to handle serious work. What made the 1066 special was how perfectly balanced it was. It had a tried-and-true transmission setup, often paired with a torque amplifier that allowed shifting on the go under load. The hydraulics was solid, the rear end was heavy, and it could handle large implements that smaller tractors simply couldn't manage. Whether it was pulling a chisel plow, running a big planter, or handling forage equipment, the 1066 just did the work. Here's a milestone that puts the 1066 in the history books. At precisely 9 a.m. on February 10, 1974, the 5,000th tractor bearing the Farmall nameplate rolled off the production line at the Farmall Works plant in Rock Island, Illinois. That tractor was a Farmall 166 Turbo. International Harvester became the first tractor manufacturer to officially produce past the 5 million mark. Over 50,000 166s were built across the production run. Today, 166s in good condition routinely sell for $15,000, and they're still doing real farm work across America. The combination of bulletproof reliability, the unmistakable sound of that turbocharged DT414, and the iconic black stripe styling makes the 1066 an absolute farmer favorite to this day. Number 1. The International Harvester Axial-Flow Combine. And our number 1 isn't a tractor at all. It's the machine that revolutionized harvest forever. The International Harvester Axial-Flow Combine, introduced in This single machine changed the entire global combine industry. Here's the story. International Harvester engineers had been secretly working on a rotary combine concept since the late 1950s, locked away in a nondescript cement block garage at the East Moline plant. That secret garage had frosted windows and was off-limits to almost everyone. The development took 17 years of obsessive engineering work. Even International Harvester's own management in Chicago may not have known the project existed in the early days. When IH launched the Axial-Flow in 1977, they introduced 2 models. The 1440 featured a 135 horsepower, 436 cubic inch engine, a 24-inch rotor, and a 145 bushel grain tank. The 1460 delivered 170 horsepower with the same 436 cubic inch engine and a 180 bushel grain tank. Here's why this machine was revolutionary. Traditional combines used a drum and straw walker design that processed crop in stages. The Axial-Flow eliminated all of that. Instead, crop flowed through a single longitudinal rotor in a spiral path, with threshing and separation happening continuously from front to back. The result was higher capacity, less grain damage, fewer moving parts, and dramatically improved efficiency. International Harvester quite literally bet the farm on this design. They had 300 prototype Axial-Flows harvesting across the USA and Canada during Full production began in The design was so successful that every other major manufacturer eventually moved toward rotary or hybrid rotary designs. After IH merged with Case in 1985, the Case IH Axial-Flow continued in production. By the 1980s, the 100,000th Axial-Flow combine had rolled off the assembly line. Today, every modern Case IH Axial-Flow combine still uses the same fundamental rotor concept that International Harvester engineers developed in that locked garage. Farmers around the world trust their entire harvest to machines that trace their DNA directly back to that original 1977 IH-146. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.